Welcome to sunny London, I would say. We've made sure that there is enough good sun for you all to just enjoy. But again, very excited to be here. We have a great speaker lineup today. But just want to give you a quick history. We had the Open Networking and Ed Summit has been running for over a decade now. And we have tried various formats, right? Going regional, going global, centralizing it, both leadership and technology, et cetera, et cetera. So this time around, we said, let's co-locate it with KubeCon here in London. And based on several of attendees' feedback, they wanted us to sort of have a more interactive thought leadership executive session split from the CFP portion. So the CFP portion will be on the telco day tomorrow as part of KubeCon, and then the strategic leadership executive session is today. So that's kind of the general format. It will be interactive. So the LF Networking Governing Board will be here in the evening. So just prepare your questions and get ready to grill them. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes. Again, thank you to the sponsors, Sonic, Zedera, Diamond, and then Infosys. And we have our media partners, ABI and Telecom TV. There's a few demos and things like that you can visit, obviously, with Coffee next door, which I see most of you have it already. QR code for the schedule, if you've already not seen it. It's a packed lineup, right? Some of the most important leaders in this industry are in the room. So, do spare some time to talk to them. Code of conduct for Linux Foundation, just review it. Password is cloud native. And I'll talk about cloud native in just a bit, but that's just for the open, for the Wi-Fi. And then there's a quick reception at 5 o'clock today, right after the summit, just next door. Do join us. With that, let's roll the video. One of the goals of launching this project called ONAP, where we brought, as under the Linux Foundation, a governance to bring, large operators like AT&T, China Mobile, Orange, Bell Canada, Reliance, et cetera, and some of the tier 1 and tier 2 vendors in this community together under a common governance model that allows innovation in the community. And so once we open source this, and we have announced that today, it's available to the community to build on, to contribute, and to take it to the next level. Okay. So the reason I put this video up was that was almost a decade ago. And in the last decade, we have gone through 20 technology disruptions, okay? If you recognize more than 15, you're in the right room. If you don't recognize any, there's the exit. But no, seriously speaking, we started off with, open networks and SDN and disaggregation, 5G and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read them. And we're still going. So it's almost like 2 technology disruptions a year, roughly. And then, of course, with all the internet content and with all the web pages and social media and all that, we have trained all these models now to decide for us which technologies have made it and which have not. So I asked ChatGPT, what are the top 10 trends and how are they successful? And that's what they said. Okay? It's up to you to decide, but I thought this was pretty interesting, right? Which says open source, 5G, zero trust, edge, et cetera, were successful, moderately successful, but growing. SDN, intent-based networking, AI, et cetera. NFV, successful in some areas, but a step on the way to cloud native with the latest publication from Etsy as well. So I think in general, maybe you could argue that the models are doing a pretty good job of understanding our domain. And domain-specific AI is one of the themes for today, right? It's not the generic one, it's just how we do it. So I thought that was interesting, and in the last decade, I think several of you have contributed, led, and disrupted the networking industry over the last decade. So really, really appreciate that. So if you kind of nail it down and say, okay, what matters? You know, acronyms come and go. You know, we've all been in networking where we're used to 3- and 4-letter acronyms which come and go, okay? But what stays is neutral collaboration. What stays is harmonization of open source and standards. What stays and what needs to be enhanced is that open source software works together with proprietary hardware and proprietary software. And that's kind of an important message here. It's not all open source software, okay? It works in end-to-end blueprint. And we work together in a neutral governance to solve real-world problems. And this only happens if we have participation and support from you all, users, developers, and foundations. So that's kind of how we see the industry moving forward, okay? And then, if I don't mention AI, then nobody will listen to me, so there's AI. But it's really AV, right? I can't do it all. No one of us can do it all. We have to work together. And open source is kind of the only last collaborative effort that goes on in today's world. And I want to make sure that we continue with that. So again, thank you for the participation. So with that introduction, we have a whole LF research team, and we conducted a massive survey on state of open networking. And this is more, from a developer-centric viewpoint. In the morning session, you will hear from 2 of the leading analysts who will put this into, real world and how it relates to what we should be doing. They are the experts. This is just a snapshot of what our community thinks. And so with that, I would like to welcome Hilary Carter, who heads up our research, on the stage to give out some of the results, and I'll come back and do some of the results, the following results. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Arpit. Arpit, thank you so much. Good morning, One Summit. It's my pleasure to represent Linux Foundation Research and to see you all today. Thank you very much for being with us. Linux Foundation Research was founded in 2021 with the sole purpose of empirically studying trends in open source, looking at contribution trends, looking at usage trends, and understanding the value proposition across all open source projects, communities, domains, and also exploring trends within industries to better understand industry-specific challenges as well as opportunities. And today I'm really excited to share some fresh data that we've been able to generate as a community to better understand what's taking place in open networking. So let's dig in. Very briefly, we have explored industry collaboration over the course of our years. And one of the first really exciting findings was shared in Europe in September 2023 when we did a Europe-specific analysis. It was very clear 91% of our respondent community found incredible industry-specific value for open source. And this is true not only within Europe, but also around the world. And study after study that we have done over the years validates this industry-specific value. In financial services, this is another example of a hundreds-year-old industry that is increasingly collaborating to solve common industry-specific challenges through open source project communities. The FinTech Open Source Foundation hosts an annual, twice annual conference called the Open Source and Finance Forum. And during that keynote, some really great data was presented. First, that 88% of this survey's respondents said that open source was valuable to the individual organization. And an even higher number, 90%, said it's valuable to the whole financial services industry. Similarly, in other regions in Japan, as well as on a global scale, when we look at industry-specific research, we see time and time again, study after study showing there's tremendous industry value around open source software. And the kind of value that is derived for industries are around things like reducing the costs of software development, obviously, improving interoperability challenges that are specific to cloud and containers or AI or operating systems, improving innovation, and lowering the cost of collaboration around standards, which create incredible industry value, increasing productivity, another example. So this year we wanted to better understand what was taking place specifically in the networking industry. And we're absolutely thrilled that the findings from this study are very much, they're very much validated as being true across other industries. So networking is no exception. It benefits to an equal extent as other industries. So that was kind of fun. So what did we learn? Impressive trends for the networking space. Very high numbers. 92% of organizations are reporting that open source software is valuable to their organization. Very similar to the financial services study that we conducted. And that 83% are seeing tremendous business value. And that business value results from not just lowering the total cost of software, but the value that comes from collaboration around that software and the problems that can be solved on things like regulatory challenges, not necessarily code-specific challenges. So it really stems beyond the engineering office and the office of the CTO. And the code quality that benefits from many eyes, the security of the software, and on and on. Similar to other studies, networking also has a gap when it comes to contributing back upstream. That while 63% of our study's respondents use open source software, 34% use it only. 63% both use and contribute back upstream, but only 35% use it and they don't contribute back upstream. And that's a gap. That's a really lost opportunity because contributions allow organizations to do some pretty great things. And what you might not realize is the extent to which organizations can attract leading talent by allowing, by being an open source first organization and positioning themselves really as technology first, open source first companies. And they have this opportunity to contribute to the technical direction of any open source project by way of those contributions. So to close this gap, it's important that we collaborate with organizations like LF Networking. The establishment of an OSPO, an open source program office, is seen to increase upstream open source contributions by 4 times. And so how can your organization set up an OSPO and improve those upstream contributions and get even more value from your open source investment? This is where communities like LF Networking and LF Edge Foundation really come in and support an organization's journey to managing the use of their open source software, establishing an open source program office, helping close skills gaps. These are really significant barriers. Managing security and compliance and things like IP and legal risk and licensing. The resources that a community shares through these collaborative structures and governance structures like LF Networking and Edge are extremely beneficial. And 94% of organizations see the value of open source foundations as being at least important, very important, or extremely important. So I can't understate that value of collaboration and shared problem solving. And with that, I want to thank all of you who took the time to share your perspectives in our survey. We cannot create these results without your contribution of a few minutes of your time to taking a survey really helps everybody. So our studies are by the community, for the community, and the results are publicly available. And I hope that you'll dig into all of our research. And I'll hand the floor back to Arpit because he's going to dig into some domain-specific findings. Arpit.
All right, so let me continue the survey into sort of the second part, which is, okay, so what are the technology areas that the survey dug into? It's really around cloud native, AI, RAN, and a few more. So let's go with the first one, which is cloud native. This is a good news story because cloud native adoption crossed the 2/3 boundary, right? Meaning majority of the organizations, in fact, 73% of the surveyed folks said workloads leverage cloud native networking. And the benefits were really automation, orchestration, and scalability with resilience. So this is good news. We still need to get to 90%, and I think we are on the track to get there. So the journey that started, I think, 2019, if I remember correctly, I had, along with my colleague at Mobile World Congress, I had announced a word called CNF, Cloud Native Network Function. Well received, now everybody uses it, but that's good. So about a 5-6 year journey and we are there. So that's cloud native. On RAN and Open RAN, it's a double-edged story, right? Or two sides of the story. If you're an optimist, you can look at the slide and say, oh, it's going to double this year and double again. If you're a pessimist, then you could say, well, half the people don't care. Well, they may be, and then you can explain, okay, they might be in the core network and not on the RAN side. But for the people who care, the interesting analysis that has come up is anything within the RAN that has open source components have been deployed more than the specific proprietary components. So specifically here, the SMO, the OCloud, they have much more deployment and continues to grow versus the CUDU. So the opportunity here is for open source CUDU, which kind of is expected and kind of on track to sort of go down that route. And that gives us a lot more flexibility on the Open RAN side, okay? The one surprise from the survey was consuming open source. So normally in other industries, specifically, cloud native or CNCF or any other industries like the Linux kernel and all that, open source gets consumed as a project. And then what happens, we don't know in Linux Foundation. But what the users are saying is that the community needs to integrate a solution with multiple projects across a use case in what we are calling, super blueprint or 5G super blueprints. And 85% of the people said, this is valuable to me because it cuts down on my test time, my interoperability time, and it helps me speed up. So these blueprints go across, a set of hardware, configuration, software, open source software, and it doesn't have to be, from LFN. It can be, any software within or proprietary. So I think it is a good news story. We are going to double down on the 5G Super Blueprint even more, but this was a surprising result. Then we looked at AI, and obviously there's like tons and tons of surveys. So we start top down, which industry, what, obviously media and telecom, this is McKinsey, has network operations as the highest focus, no surprise there. So what did our community tell us? There were two things which will accelerate the AI adoption, and this is domain-specific AI. One is the availability of data sets, and the other one is availability of a framework. And we had guessed that that's the case because we know the community knows what is important. And so we're focusing heavily on that to a point where we're announcing 2 new projects today that are donated by Infosys, one of our platinum members. One is Acidum. That's a complete AI framework for data sharing and domain-specific AI tools for networking. And the other one is Salus, which is a responsible AI toolkit. I won't go into the details here. We're going to have a presentation in the afternoon that will go through it. But we're really excited, and we thank Infosys for bringing this to LFN and LF. As we move to Edge, we have started seeing a pattern emerge. And the pattern is Edge needs to be even more vertically integrated. And so these verticals, manufacturing, oil and gas, retail, automotive, cities, and you will hear from several of our Edge leaders today, it is a challenge. It is not a simple horizontal play in the edge compute and IoT world. But the good news is there are framework projects that keep getting better and better for each of these domains. And we are doubling down on that with the LF Edge. Okay. And then the final set of announcements that other projects have provided is Kamara comes out with a latest release, 36 APIs, and you will hear from Deutsche Telekom today on Kamara. This is one of our superstar projects that seems to have gotten so much publicity, and the community is really excited about that, so you'll hear from that. You will hear in the afternoon from Eve, one of our leading projects that has really graduated to a very mature project with full deployment. And then there's a whole section on standards and open source working in harmony. And we have expanded the MOUs and our collaboration. So there's a whole set of ecosystem that goes along with this. So you'll hear these things throughout the day. And I deliberately did not go into each one of these announcements because some of the press folks will just read this and go away. So I just thought, let's have them wait so that it doesn't happen. So with that said, in our day-to-day, okay, this is very, very important. We have two of the best AI experts here in the room. And I'm not joking here. Or I'm not just trying to show that, they are here, so just, hey, talk about them. But they are AI experts who also are networking experts. Okay, that's a rare combination. A lot of us are networking experts and have picked up AI quite well, but not to the depth at which these two folks are. And those are the two opening keynotes, and I'll get to that in just a bit. We have two of the best analyst firms here today on the telecom side and Edge, and they have been giving out so much information over social media, and I thought it would be great to at least hear it firsthand, okay? We have 6 of the top 10 service provider leaders in the room. We have 4 of the top 10 standards organization in the room, and pretty much all the networking vendors, system integrators, cloud service providers, and startups. So again, we wanted to make sure that this is an interactive session with the leaders of who impact this whole ecosystem.